Well, you have to know the direction of this channel will also be taking, as well as a very anti-Brexit route, and again, if it does happen, a pretty much very rejoin Europe route. We will also, as obviously, be taking a very anti-Tory route and promoting policies on the left, which I still believe will be better for this country. I think that the Labour manifesto was amazing. Those policies will not go away. All those policies were popular, and when polled without a particular party attached to them, they all scored more than 50 or 60% when they were polled. So those policies are popular. But on to today's story. Obviously, Johnson's got a majority. But there's this very interesting piece, and I think he's got it right in the eye. And it's Boris Johnson's majority wasn't the worst result. His bluff has been called. It was a terrible result, but it wasn't the worst result because it was clear, and there was and there is solace in clarity. For some time now, I have been wargaming and the three possible election outcomes. Like everyone who had looked at the polling in any detail or had talked to any of the Labour canvassers, those three outcomes all involved Johnson winning, with no majority, a small majority, or a large majority. For some time now, I have thought that Boris Johnson with a small majority was the worst of these three outcomes. It's a strange thing for a progressive to say, that if we must lose, let us lose badly. But imagine for a moment Johnson with a small majority, at the mercy of the most extreme forces in politics, within and without his party, at the wheel with the ERG as the navigator, needing the DUP, terrified of Nigel Farage, and having promised an impossible trade deal by the end of 2020, and hostage to people who would rather have no deal rather than extend. The ERG is now firmly back in its box. The DUP returns to a position in which its regressive views will carry the tiny weight they deserve. Nigel Farage is a laughingstock, and his Brexit party will no longer exist in a year. All this is as it should be. Now, I'm one of those people who think being in a public office somehow magically transforms the basic character of the person for the better. We tried soothing ourselves with that fairy tale when Donald Trump was first elected. Stress usually has the opposite effect. Nor do I think that Johnson is a closet liberal who, unshackled from the ERG, will show his true Europhile colours. But I would like Johnson to, at the least, have the option to be a better Prime Minister than I expect him to be. It is better for the country for him to have that option. An unpopular populist can be far more dangerous animal than a popular one. This truly abysmal result also has the potential to cauterize the gaping wound of ineffective opposition that has plagued our body politic for so long. The simple, inescapable truth is that Johnson managed to unite the majority who still want Brexit, while Jeremy Corbyn and Swinson failed to unite the majority who do not, which is true. Again, this is not to predict that Labour will suddenly see the light. All the early signs are that they won't. Most people from the Jeremy Corbyn camp this morning have been blaming everyone except their camp. Our videos were seen by 70 million viewers, said Momentum's Parker on the BBC this morning. Well, millions of people watched the video of a burger and a very angry cat, and it didn't make the burger Prime Minister. Now, let's go on to this, because I think this actually really needs properly addressing. Look, every metric we are seeing so far isn't that the people voted against the policies. What we are seeing, especially from the canvassers on the doorstep, was that they could not vote for Corbyn, not the policies that he was selling. The policies he was selling, people wanted. but they felt they couldn't vote for Corbyn predominantly because of his pre-IRA associations, that he'd gone and talked to these people. That was the majority, and that had been the story that had been sold, Corbyn the traitor, that was published around, and that's what seemed to stick with many people. And it's unbelievable that people went for that. Vote for policies, not people. This is how you get people like Boris Johnson and Trump in, because they have no principles. And trust me, Boris has no principles. And like this guy is saying here, look, I will give Boris, to begin with, the benefit of the doubt, although he hasn't shown that he has any integrity to begin with. So, but maybe now he's got a majority, who knows? But trust me, I'm expecting very little from the guy. And I'm expecting things to be far worse before they get better. So 53% of voters yesterday voted for parties that advocate a second referendum. It will, unfortunately, count for little. Ironic that while Brexiteers have complained for years that their vote being ignored, the most ignored voters throughout this period were the millions of people, a majority, who continue to think that Brexit is a terrible idea. And this, and the last point, is probably the most dangerous pitfall of a large majority carries for Johnson. He is architect and owner of Brexit. He is fresh out of excuses. There is now no obstacle in his way. No Ramona Parliament. No judicial reviews. No Theresa May. His bluff has been called. He now has 1 year to deliver the magical Brexit land he promised. A Brexit land with no downsides. A Brexit land defended by an invisible border in which migrants are always doctors and nurses but never patients, with which forces economic giants like the EU and the US to blend our trading wishes. No more the dog that ate my homework, the people that people expect. The weight of such an undeliverable expectation has crushed much sterner men than Johnson. Things will go wrong, and a large majority allows them at least to go wrong very quickly and clearly. And that is the point of this. Johnson will go wrong very quickly and very clearly. There is, as this just been said, there is nothing stopping him now for his to get his Brexit through. And as we have said multiple times, Brexit is not a good idea. There is no upsides. There are only downsides. So everything is now Boris Johnson's fault. As we said back when Theresa May was elected, everyone got the feeling that Theresa May had been given the poison chalice so that any downfalls were on her. Well, now Boris Johnson has taken that chalice and now has got to drink from it. He has no options. He has to deliver on his promise. He has to deliver on his fantasy of this Brexit land, which will never come to pass. And as a result, all this time we have said, and what we were saying will be shown to be right. And as we said a long time ago, back when we first looked at this, many people at the beginning of the Iraq War supported the Iraq War. However, now when you ask people their opinions of did they support the Iraq War, you cannot find a single person that actually supports this. I think this is going to be exactly the same for Brexit.